going on, everybody? I'm Phil DiMartino. This is Tyler Pyburn. We're here today for another edition of the 5tool Productions video podcast, and today we're going to be talking about Instagram and whether or not it is now the most important social channel, basically, of them all.
Well, it's crazy. Over the course of time, you've seen Instagram kind of take on other platforms. I feel like, when Instagram first came out, I was like, okay, it's just about pictures, it's the feed, and that was it. And it went up against Facebook. Facebook then bought Instagram, and they tried to buy Snapchat, and they said, nope, you can't buy Snapchat, we're going to cost too much for you, sorry. So they then turned Instagram into the Snapchat killer. From there, they've continued to grow and roll out different products, whether it's live, whether it's stories, and then now we're seeing IGTV, which everybody's saying that's going up against YouTube. So right now we're seeing Instagram basically take on all these other platforms, which makes you wonder, is it in fact the most important of all the platforms?
Yeah, and I think the simple answer to really make this podcast worthless is yes, I think it is. I think the single most important social platform right now probably is Instagram. That doesn't mean the other ones aren't valuable, but I think that a lot of people sometimes forget that Instagram is officially an arm of Facebook. And it almost feels to me, you mentioned it a little bit, that over the years since they've acquired Instagram, Facebook has made Instagram basically be the tool in which they actually do stuff, right? Like Facebook is there to drive the ad revenue, and it's always going to be there. It has the most active users of all the social networks by far. But it seems like they've used Instagram as a place to actually drive new features and do interesting things. And the really interesting thing is, I think over the years, people have grown to hate Facebook, and that hasn't happened with Instagram.
Well, we were just at a conference, less than a month ago, and almost every single marketer that was up there just said, oh, I hate Facebook.
Right.
Oh, I hate Facebook. Right. There were people that said, I have to be there. I still play with it, and I still pay to use it. Everybody does, because you have to use it in order to be relevant.
Right.
But on the flip side of things, they all hate it. But not one negative thing was said about Instagram. And I think what's going on right now is people are seeing Instagram as just the biggest and best branding vehicle out there. Because it seems like you're getting the most bang for your buck, really.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it is that from a user perspective, like, I still enjoy going on Instagram, like to scroll through my feed and just see what my friends are doing. I don't necessarily feel that way about Facebook. And I think the problem with Facebook, it's from both ends. The user experience is not as good as it once was, and for marketers and people trying to maintain a brand page, it's like organic reach has plummeted, you feel like engagement's gone way down. Those things haven't really happened to Instagram as much, so you enjoy using it as a user, but also as a marketer, you enjoy using it because it's still kind of pure. And you talked about the feed now kind of is really just for photos. We can talk about that more in a second. Yep. But stories is like the type of thing that just keeps you, there's always something to go through on stories, right? It's an endless
You can spend
feed.
because you're seeing everybody else's day, it seems like, on stories now. Unless, you see some of the power players out there that are creating for stories. It's most people that are really just updating you throughout the course of the day, telling you their story of what's going on. So you're seeing that more and more.
So you talk about the way that they've like kind of tried to imitate these other platforms, and you really do get the best of all worlds kind of all in one thing on Instagram now as an end user. So if you want to watch long form video now, you can. If you want to just do quick hits and keep up with people throughout the course of the day, you can. You still get good photography. I think even people freaked out when they first introduced advertising to Instagram and when they changed the feed. But the feed on Instagram still feels pretty good to me. So overall, like, I think end users, I guess the bottom line that I'm trying to get to is I think end users still generally have a more positive feeling about Instagram than they do about Facebook, which is why it's so valuable for marketers.
What's interesting on the compare and contrast thing. So compare it to Facebook, really. Facebook, I have all the friends and kind of businesses that I follow, right? And it's cluttered with friends' opinions about different things, not just pictures of their kids, which, love to see them. But there's opinions about politics and what business political agendas are. You see some of that on Instagram, but the one thing that I personally have really taken to on Instagram in particular is the ability to follow a hashtag. So I'll follow Chevy C10, which are old pickup trucks, right? You could just, and same thing with cameras as well. So I'll follow video production as a hashtag and see when things get published there. So I'll be able to follow the hashtag. So things that are top of mind for me that I enjoy, clearly like looking at, I go ahead and follow those hashtags. So those topical conversations. Whereas Facebook, I don't have that. I don't have that option. I don't have that choice. For me as the end user, going back to at the end of the day, all we really care about is the end user. All we want to know is, are we giving them what they want to see? And they're choosing what they want to see by following their different hashtags and so on and so forth.
Right. I think one of the interesting things, if you look at growth, so Instagram's growth is kind of still exponential. They just, in June of 2018, announced that they're over 1 billion monthly active
We were
users.
just looking at the numbers, and it's crazy.
And you look at the chart, and it's like the growth levels are insane. So they're adding they're growing at a faster rate than any social network. That Facebook is still adding. How is Facebook still adding users? And somehow Facebook is still adding users now. I believe they're over 2 billion monthly active, maybe even 2.2. I don't know. It's like a quarter of the world's population.
Well, not all of them have the internet, so how is it even possible?
But Instagram is still growing exponentially. So users are bearing it out. Like, people are still flocking to the platform in a way that they're not to these other platforms, especially places like Snapchat, which was billed as the next big thing.
We usually see kind of the early adoption, right, where you see that big giant growth at the very beginning, and then you see it kind of plateaus a little bit. Exactly. This is the next big thing. You have to jump on this. What was the, oh my gosh, I can't even think of the name of it.
Ello?
Ello.
Yeah,
there was Ello. We were told to, really look out for that.
And by the way, that's shifted to be a really cool platform in its own right, but it's more like artsy photography.
And
it's not like a mainstream.
there was Vero as well, but that platform kept crashing because they couldn't handle the bulk of the people that were jumping on. The thing that's interesting now, from a marketing perspective, is the whole idea, we haven't touched upon it, is the IGTV.
Right.
And that's one thing I think we definitely should kind of dive into right now, is because IGTV, like you said, the feeds are great, the lives are great, the stories are excellent. IGTV, I can't help but think, is specific to brands, right? Whereas I feel like right now, not too many people are really leveraging it. I'm seeing a handful of people on there, and who knows, maybe we'll put this up there. Maybe you'll be watching this on IGTV. But I haven't seen a ton of people really leveraging it just yet. But I feel like when we first sent it back and forth, we were like, this seems like it's perfect for brands, right?
Right, and I think you're right. I think it is. It's probably, so when Stories first came out, you couldn't upload anything that was taken anywhere else into Stories. You had to take it natively in Stories. It was very much supposed to be document your day.
Yeah, this is what's going on throughout the course of the day.
And eventually, over time, they added features so that
because they saw people were recording it and downloading it and saying, oh, I hate that one, and let me do a different version, right?
Yeah, so they changed it and allowed people to upload over time. But IGTV launched, so it's only things that are in your camera roll, right?
And long form.
Well, it's up to an hour, and it's things that are in your camera roll, meaning you can bring them in, you can produce them elsewhere and bring them in. Like, it's designed with the idea in mind that people are going to be producing elsewhere and bringing them in here. You can obviously just shoot on your camera or, turn around and shoot on yourself.
For an hour,
for up to an hour.
Yeah.
But also, just as likely, you can take something like this, slap it on a vertical timeline, and it allows brands to use Instagram in a way that they hadn't before, like really thoughtful pre-production. And the thing is, you have to do it in such a way that it's going to allow it to be on vertical, right? That's kind of the interesting
there are ways
thing
around it that I have seen a couple people that literally take the 1080 video and they put giant bars on the top and bottom, and they put what the text of the topic is, and they put the subtitles underneath. So I've seen kind of that use case
Also
as well,
fine,
which is perfectly fine. The thing that's interesting going, with platform versus platform is every single article out there right now that I'm seeing is IGTV versus YouTube. I've heard a couple podcasts about it, and the one thing I feel like we're missing is IGTV and Instagram. To me, and I could be wrong, feels like they're betting on everybody watching it solely on their phone.
Right, that's why it's all vertical.
Exactly, which is great. I have no problem with that. Whereas YouTube, I feel like YouTube is not betting it on just the phone. You're a prime example of this. Well, I know we're going to be talking about this in another podcast later about the idea of YouTube TV. Yep. The fact that you can actually put this on your television. Right now, I don't see Instagram users go ahead and saying, okay, it's on my phone, but I'm going to bring it to my television screen right now. I'm not going to pop it up here because it's going to be that vertical screen.
Right.
What Instagram seems to be banking on is the fact that people are going to be sitting there for up to an hour watching a show possibly, or getting content fed to them, just watching it right here vertically.
Right, and it's an interesting bet, and I don't think that I have the answer as to which way it's going to play out, but I can tell you that I think that a lot of people have talked about IGTV being like a YouTube competitor, YouTube killer, but I think the point you're making is a good one in that they're really for different use cases. YouTube at this point, you can watch it on your smart TV. You might beam from your Chromecast to your TV. You can still watch on your phone, obviously, but they're looking for a different type of audience potentially. So the idea of it being a competitor, sure, it's long form video that brands can use. So in that sense, it is. But they're really laser focused on that mobile first experience, which maybe we'll be the differentiator, and YouTube will be left behind if they don't focus on that enough themselves.
Well, don't get me wrong.
But
I think
totally
YouTube
different
still
delivery
is.
method.
I think YouTube will still, and you might see them start to cater to that a little bit more. But I don't think, basically, I don't think TVs and television screens are going away.
Right,
I
people
think
are still
the way
gonna have
we're
them in their houses,
exactly, we're still
at the
going to
very
watch
least.
them, but in a slightly different way, right?
Right, and you mentioned, we talk about OTT, over the top, in other places beyond this video. We'll get more in depth in it, but Instagram is not getting served on my TV at any time, right? Like, I'm not going to beam it to my TV unless they change their model, and like, it doesn't seem like they have any intention for doing that when their long form video service is vertical.
Which is fine. I mean, I know. I mean, even in my household, my 2-year-old is watching videos on his phone this way, right? They're watching it vertically this way, like you guys are supposed to be able to see this way versus this way. But he's watching it vertically, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what is taking place. There's no debate about that. That's on the rise. People watching it horizontally aren't watching it nearly as much, or there's not growth, I should say. I'm sure that people are still watching horizontal videos. I mean, I tend to turn the phone because I like the widescreen look, but still, we are seeing a rise in people watching and tuning in that way.
Yeah, I mean, you remember even just a couple years ago, if you shot video vertically and then uploaded it to the internet, you were like a pariah, right? Because it would be and it wasn't because it's wrong or bad. It's just because the platforms didn't accept it appropriately, right? It didn't display appropriately. So the idea of that being like mobile first and the user experience being the most important thing, where like they know people are like traveling and commuting and they want to just hold their phone and not have to turn it. Maybe it could potentially be like a really, really positive thing for marketers to be able to say, I'm going to be able to reach people the way they want to be reached on mobile, right? I think it's potentially like a revolutionary thing for a mobile app, one of the biggest mobile apps in the world, to be able to say we're putting like user experience first. But it changes the whole way you think about shooting video, right? The only way that you're recording video natively in vertical format is on a phone.
It's on a phone.
On professional video cameras, you're not recording it that way.
Which makes you wonder, will they ever make a camera that does that? And actually, I even saw the other day, someone had their DSLR turned sideways, the way you would take a portrait photograph. They were recording that way as well.
So that it's all ready to go.
So it's all ready to go in post-production to make it very quick.
That's really interesting.
So it was really interesting to see if maybe that's going to be turned. And obviously, compared to your point-and-shoot cameras versus your DSLRs, their primary focus was for photography, not for video.
Right.
Maybe we're going to see some more of those tripods with the heads that can tilt as well.
That's actually a really interesting point. Yeah.
Kind of cool.
I hadn't really thought about that too much before just now, but that's a really interesting point. And you do wonder, who's to say a TV can't turn vertically, right? You do it all the time at conferences and things like that. So.
Mine won't fit above my mantle anymore, so I can't do that.
But
so
I agree with you that TVs aren't going away short term, but if this audience that's now like 13 years old grows up and they're just used to doing everything on their phones, maybe they won't want to go drop $500 on a new TV. Maybe they're perfectly happy using their phone and TV sales go down and everything is more mobile focused. I don't really know.
Well, it was funny over the course of time you saw phones, the big one that came out, the Zach Morris phone, right? That Nokia black phone that everybody had, I think when I was senior in high school. So you had that phone, then all of a sudden the phones got really, really small to your little teeny tiny flip phones, which I remember everybody makes fun of me still to this day from holding the phone here and then having to talk and listen and talk. But then all of a sudden they got bigger, larger screens. You see some of the new iPhones that have just come out. Your phone, your Android, the screen's massive on it now, right? So it's not really all that small, not to mention the crispness of them is incredible as well.
The display is even better than a TV potentially. So
exactly.
In any case, Instagram, the most important social platform, yes?
I agree. I definitely agree.
Yes.
At this moment in time. Put a stake in the ground. When we record this, that's what happens. In a month from now, if you're watching this like a month after we publish it, it might have changed. But
the very quick follow-up to put a bow on this too, is it worth it for content creators to spend significant time and energy investing in IGTV? Or is it still too early?
The sample size is tiny, so there aren't huge numbers to see what the type of reach organically there is out there. But you have to try the new things. You have to try the new kid on the block, see how it works.
Yeah, I think it's worth it short term because...
We haven't tried it enough, honestly.
No,
really
we haven't. But, you mentioned like not a ton of brands have done a ton with it yet. That leads to the fact that, first of all, the algorithms, whenever Facebook and Instagram introduce new things, new shiny things, they prioritize them in the algorithm. Yep. So if you use them, you're going to get a boost. And also, if you go on Instagram and you've updated your app so that you have IGTV, you'll notice that when a page or a brand or a person you follow uploads something to IGTV, you get a specific notification about it, which is another good reason to at least get a short-term gain to get in front of people. So definitely, I think
use it to your advantage.
Don't bet the farm on anything in social. Like, don't put all your resources in one basket. Don't put all your eggs in one basket here for anything with social, but it's definitely worth it in my mind. Instagram's not going anywhere. So
not going anywhere at all. All right, he's Phil. I'm Tyler. I guess we'll see you guys next time.